should call this part one. Is Jesus a psyop? That's the title. And that's the title of No More News, Adam Green. One of his latest videos was Jesus a psyop. That's what the title is. Or sorry, Kabbalah rabbis reveal Jesus is a deception. Okay, so the rabbis who had Jesus crucified, they're going to tell us that Jesus is a deception. Okay?
Saying the same.
So let's just listen to what Adam's saying. This is only going to be part one, and this isn't going to be very long tonight because it's 11:35, and I'm not going to stay up all night doing this, but because this will take a little bit on. This will take some time. This isn't going to be just one time, 30 minutes. That'll wrap it up. No, this is going to take a little while. I probably won't even get past 5 minutes here. But anyways, Adam Green's been very vocal in his rhetoric towards Christianity, and I'm not against Adam Green, okay? But maybe I am. I don't know yet. Not 100% on that. Because if he's searching for the truth, then he's he's confused or he's deceived, right? And if he's deceived, then he's seems to be going about deceiving. And so that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because at first, again, he came out, 9/11. That's what he was talking about. And he went on talking about, the Jews. The Jews.
Jesus is their secret.
Well, Jesus is their secret. He went on that, the Jews, they're responsible. And, the whole third temple and everything like that, Jewish prophecies and so on and so forth, the Talmud and everything like that, pretty good information. But then as he got through the Jewish thing, after about a year of showing clip after clip of all these rabbis saying all this crazy stuff, when I say crazy, I don't mean that it wasn't true. They were saying what they were saying, right? But once he gets so far, he then turned his ire towards Christianity as almost an enabler to this Jewish system, right? That they want to bring in. The Noahides, right? And so it becomes this thing, right, where he's turned his anger towards Christianity and towards Christ, and he ends up going to the very people that he originally was exposing to then therefore use that to expose Christianity and expose Jesus as a fraud. And I think that's a very big misplay on his part, right? And again, it's either he's confused, right, and just going down the wrong path, or he's purposely doing this, right? And is that true? Is he purposely doing this? Is he an agent, right? Is he secretly a Mossad asset, right? No, I don't think really anything like that. I won't give him that much credit, but he's definitely attempting to turn a lot of people away from understanding the truth of Jesus Christ, right? He seems to go on what the world sees as Christianity and how the Jews perceive Christianity, and he uses that to then therefore define Christianity without actually looking at the Bible and looking at it in the context of what it's talking about and the reality of what it's talking about. And he goes to all these outlandish conclusions about what the Bible's saying. And for anybody that doesn't take any time to read it, well, then they're just taking what he says for truth, and they're believing, well, that must be what it says because he said it's in this book and blah, 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 but I'm not going to go and read it, because how many people actually end up going and reading this stuff, right? And so they don't go and look up this stuff, or they don't actually know enough that if they went and read it, that they would understand what it's actually saying, right? Because he puts his spin on it, and then if they do go check it out, well, then they think it, they see it through the eyes of what he has told them, right? Just a man tired of lies. Yes, indeed, sir. So, anyways, we'll get into this a little bit. So, Jesus is the secret Messiah, okay? The secret weapon for the Jews. So, you're not going to see it. I'm going to play it. You're going to hear it, and then I'm going to comment on it a little bit. But like I say, this ain't going to be super long because it's going to get long, and I can't do it all tonight. So, part one. So, let's go.
Secret Messiah. Jesus is a deception. We're going to show a bunch of sources from other books and other rabbis saying the same thing, that Jesus is their secret Messiah. Jesus is a deception by the cabal, they say, to divide, which was the intention as well, the divide of Jacob and Esau. We're going to be playing those clips. We're going to be talking about all types of other Christianity stuff today, and how Christianity is a Jewish deception. Both the feud between Judaism and Christianity is a kosher paradox. It is two sides of the same shekel, controlled opposition, dualistic dialectic, and now finding...
Yeah, if you're of the Zionist persuasion, it's been used as a weapon to divide and conquer, right? Hegelian dialectic. It's used that way to play both sides. Yes. Just as Jude says that men crept in unawares, right? Very early on, they crept in. Because again, if the disciples were Hebrew, Israelite, right? If they were Jewish, per se, and they became followers of Jesus Christ, they didn't stop practicing the law or anything like that, but they gave up Judaism. And instead, what were they doing? They were going about preaching the gospel. But they weren't going to the temple and giving any service to the priests or the Pharisees or anything like that. No, the priests and the Pharisees and all that, they were hiring criminals to go about and give them a hard time. They were having them chased out of towns, beaten, killed in cases, right? So there was never any love affair between Christianity, right, and Jewry, okay? There is a relationship between the Gentile and the Jew, yes, for sure, historically, right? But not the Jew that's not the Jew that's against Christ, right? Not the Jew who has crucified Jesus Christ and continuously praises the crucifixion of Jesus Christ as if it was, some sort of victory. The only victory that it was Christ's victory over death, right? And therefore our victory over death, right? So it ceases to become Judaism, right, once Jesus comes on the scene. And then he builds the church off of himself, the chief cornerstone. And that's why the Jews hated him. And that's why the Jews hated the disciples, the apostles, and they hated the followers of Christ ever since thereafter, and always had governments attack Christians and would blame Christians for certain fires that happen, right? Under a certain emperor. But it's just it's wild, these claims, because any little bit of knowledge and all of his claims come flying apart. But yet so many people watch him and look forward to hearing what he says, right? To validate their already unbelief, right? Because that's all it is. Because whenever somebody doesn't believe or doesn't understand the scriptures or doesn't know, they tend, if they're not open-minded to it, if they don't want to know the truth, their first thing is to go to saying, I knew it, without any look into it, without any reverence. They're like, I knew that's what it was. Everything else they look into, but they won't open a Bible and won't try to understand it. And if they do, again, they're looking at it through these non-spiritual eyes, right? So they can't discern what they're reading. And that's the thing, right? There's multi-layers to the Bible. It's not an esoteric book. It's not a Gnostic book or anything like that. But you have to have the Spirit to discern it. And you have to read it all a lot, again and again and again, to keep up on it, right? But the basics are always going to be there. So that's why it's so easy when you get Adam Green talking to dismantle what he's saying. So he's going to go to the Kabbalah guru, a proponent of QAnon. And I agree with Adam Green, everything he says about QAnon. I had a video, Q Elon, right, where I talked about QAnon and exactly what I thought, which is the same thing that Adam Green thinks and pretty much what everybody else on our side thinks about QAnon, that it's the Psy-Op. But that's the thing is, Adam Green is correct in the fact that there is a Psy-Op Jesus, and he's called the Antichrist, right? Right? Like when they say that, oh yeah, our Messiah is coming, and they're like, oh yeah, Jesus. They're like, some say it's the second coming of Jesus. We say it's the Messiah kind of thing, right? We just play along. So yeah, they are trying to deceive a buttload of people that are claiming the mantle of Christian into being deceived by the Antichrist. 100%. I've been saying that for a long time. It's part of the New Age movement. It's a New Age prosperity and everything like that without Jesus at the center. Jesus is part of the Super Friends, but he's not the Lord and Savior of all, right? He was just a part, an integral part in the awakening of humanity, right? Into the initiation, which is what we're going through, is initiation into the Christ consciousness, right? That's where you're going to see all this blending of the New Age with Christianity. And if people aren't careful, they're going to wind up getting caught up in this. Now, I understand that we have to take certain sides in order to try to navigate this, but we also have to understand what the future holds, right? So I agree with Adam Green in a lot of what he's saying, but he's misguided on the main crux of his point, right? There is a New Age Jesus, right? That's true. But he's not the Jesus of the Bible. He's the one that Jesus talks about, the Jesus who Christ says to the Jews, right? Me, you don't believe me, but when another comes in my name, him you'll believe. And he was talking about the one who's going to come in the future in his name, and that's going to be the Antichrist. Because the Antichrist doesn't mean that he's, the devil with a pitchfork, right? The Antichrist doesn't mean that he's the exact opposite of Christ, right? Revelation says that he looked like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. Think about that. All right, let's go. Oh, I should see what the chat's saying here first. What's everybody saying in the chat? Oh, that is the chat. Hey, boys. So, what's happening tonight? These people will not take their foot off the gas pedal at whatever the cost. No, they won't. They are continuing. Watched Adam on Rants Derek a while back. He's out and out, refused Christ in his existence. Yeah, no, it's true. Just a man tired of lies. We are just listening. Nope, right on, fellas. Right on. Just wanted to check before I get into this, see what was going on in the chat. See what's going on in the chat. All right.
Even more information validating that this is what is going to transpire with Jesus. So let's get right into it. This is Kabbalah Guru, 25,000 followers that he's gotten very quickly on on YouTube. He is a huge QAnon proponent, like many of the QAnon promoters are Jewish, Zionist Christians.
Yeah.
And the ADL likes to say that they're anti-Semitic and white supremacists when it's being pushed by almost primarily all Zionists. And the video that we're going to go over today, he put out about 4 days ago. See, look at all QAnon this is. It's all QAnon. Wait till he does it. That is the king of this world. And it is how the Cabal used the story of a nice Jewish boy to divide the world. And it's so interesting. They're calling the Cabal like the Jesuits and the Vatican, and just like the Rabbi Anava says, the Erev Rav in Esau.
Okay. They're calling the Cabal the Jesuits and the Vatican. Jews in the Vatican form the Jesuits. That's true. That's true. That's absolutely true. Cryptos. I understand what's so hard to understand. Like, it has to be one or the other with all these people, right? It always has to be one or the other. It can't be that, this and this. No, it's like, do you not understand that they use whatever vehicle they need to be? If you look in the Jesuit, in what their rights say, if you look in like the Templar rights, if you look in the Freemasonic rights, whatever, any of those rights, I don't know about the Freemasonic rights, but the other ones, and there's a few other, I just can't even think of it, but it says that wherever they are, yeah, it does say with Freemason, if you are amongst Christians, then you're to be a Christian. If you're amongst atheists, then you're to be an atheist. If you're amongst liberals, be a liberal. If you're amongst whatever, be whatever, right? The purpose is that you're trying to infiltrate at whatever cost. And if you aren't, open to the people that you're trying to infiltrate, then they're not going to be open to you, right? And you need them to be open to you in order to infiltrate them, right? And henceforth, right, when the church became the church, obviously, that people that wanted the church to be destroyed, it's very easy for them to be accepted into the church. They would be gladly accepted in. But if they're working behind the scenes doing things, well, how is one to know? You don't always know, but you can know, but you can't always prove it. If you can't always prove it, then you can't always act on it, right? So you have to remain on guard on your actions, right? And these people that are about deception, they live by deception, they rule by deception. Well, guess what? They're not going to play by the same rules of engagement that we do. They're going to play by deception. Hey, are you stealing my stuff? No, I'm not stealing anything. Oh, okay. All good. I'll let you continue rummaging through the back of my truck since you're not stealing anything. No, man, I'm not stealing nothing. Go back inside. It's all good. Right? Okay. Anyways, back to this.
And Edom, that, and Satan, that is the king of this world. And the Vatican, and just like the Rabbi Anava says, the Erev Rav in Esau and Edom, that, and Satan, that is the king of this.
Esau, Edom. So yes, they want revenge on Rome. They see Rome as their object to destroy. They have had perpetual revenge ingrained in them for a long, long time. They've been vagabonds throughout the earth, right? Since the diaspora, right? Diaspora. They've been vagabonds throughout the earth. So they've been planning for a long time, right? And it takes a lot of careful planning. I mean, they wouldn't be in the positions that they're in right now if they didn't plan carefully, if they weren't good at what they do, if they weren't good at infiltrating, right? Again, if somebody's operating under deception and they're not an outright, ruffian criminal, then how are you to know that they're a criminal, right? How do you know that they're, secretly stealing from you? How do you know that they're secretly working behind your back? You don't unless you can catch them. And to catch them, if they're trying to stay hidden from you, is, can be difficult, right? Especially if you know the power of subtlety, right?
World. So it's the same
thing.
By
the way, hey,
instead
Wilford,
of the Cabal
how's it going,
being
buddy?
the people that actually created the Torah, created the New Testament, which were Jews, and
who created the Torah, who created the New Testament, who were Jews. Okay. What's your point? What's your point, Adam? And first of all, again, those guys that you say are Jews, they ceased practicing Judaism. Of course, they kept the law and everything like that because there's nothing wrong with the law. But they now are part of the church, the body of Christ. And whoever wants to believe becomes a part of that body, right? And if these Jews would just believe, then they would also be part of that body, right? And now earthly, they can deceive people and say, oh yes, I'm part of the body of Christ, right? But maybe you're secretly a Zionist, right? Working against your very, your very foundation, right? And you would have well-meaning people that are also Christian that would fall victim to the deception of Zionism very easily, right? Because again, it's only been hammered into people's subconscious for the last 100 years, especially in the churches it infiltrated in, which again, this whole what we are in today has just been an extension of the last 100 years or so, right? Which really is all of history. It's the law of progress, right? And that's what they work under, the law of progression. They are progressing to a point. It has to happen, right? You can push a ball up a hill, and eventually it's going to get to that point, right? When you've pushed it far enough, when you no longer have to push it, the ball just rolls itself and then picks up speed and gets faster and picks up stuff along the way, right? So they're just pushing a vehicle. They're just pushing a rock to the top, to the peak of a mountain.
And it goes right along with the Roman providence, the Caesar's Messiah theory to almost...
Oh yeah, sorry. So the whole Edom thing, right? Again, they see Edom as Rome. So that's who they're looking to destroy. Who is Rome today? Rome is America. Rome is Christianity. Rome is the world, right? The Western world. That's who Rome is. If you look at the United States in the in the Senate chambers there, or the Capitol, right? Or is it the Senate? They got the fascist symbol, right? That's the Roman arm, right? It's the extension of the Roman Empire. The British Empire was, and now it's the American British Empire, right? That's what it is. It's just an extension of it all. It's what it never died. It just continued on. And that's the last part of the statue, right? It's the last, that's the legs and the feet, right? And we're coming into the mingling, right, of the feet with the toes with the clay, right? That's the reference to Daniel. I won't get into that right now because I don't got Daniel in front of me, so I shouldn't start talking about that stuff when I don't have it right in front of me. So, Edom, America, Western civilization, Christianity, that's what they see. Rome destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, right? Dispersed the people. They want revenge, okay? Edom as Esau, right? When you look at the story of Jacob and Esau, okay? Jacob supplanted Esau. He was called the supplanter, okay? Esau was the firstborn, okay? He was a mighty hunter. He was a man's man. And Jacob, he was a mama's boy. And not that he couldn't do anything, but he was a mama's boy, right? His mother loved him more than Esau, and like really primed him and primed him and everything like that. Taught him how to kind of be deceptive and use trickery. And Esau, well, he was, like I say, he was a man's man. He was a hunter. He was a burly guy, red hair, super hairy. Well, it was hatched out with the mother that Jacob would go and get a blessing from their father, Isaac. Or sorry, yeah, Isaac. And Isaac was old and he was blind, so the plan was that he would go in and put fur on his arms and stuff like that, and make it so he felt like Esau, right? And that was enough to convince his father, who was blind, and he blessed Jacob, gave him the blessing of what should be the firstborn. And then Esau comes in later, and he's like, oh shoot, I don't have a blessing for you. And he's like, well, give me a blessing anyways. And he's like, okay, you're blessed, right? And then Esau's mad. Esau sold his birthright for a bowl of pottage to Jacob earlier in the story. Esau was out hunting, and he came back from the field, and he was dead tired, and Jacob was stewing this bowl of pottage. And so Esau said, brother, I'm at my end here, feed me. And he's like, basically, I'll feed you if you sell me your birthright. Real conniving, right? Like, just out of the blue, that's your first thing to come up with, right? But again, he was taught to be an opportunist and manipulative by his mother. Isn't that funny? His mother is kind of like the prototype for the modern woman, right? Not all modern women, obviously, but you know what I mean, what they want women to be like, right? And so anyways, he said, yeah, whatever, right? He gives it to him. And so then this thing happens with Isaac later on. And so the whole idea is, when you think about it, is that the birthright was of Israel, right? It was the firstborn, Israel, right? The Jews. And then came in the Gentiles, right? So Esau is technically like the Jews, where they had the birthright because they were the firstborn, but because they gave up their birthright, aka denied Christ, crucified him, then the birthright was then instead given to Jacob. Okay? See how that works? And now Adam has the whole thing where he denies that because the Jews, right? Well, these guys that say they're Jews, because that's the whole thing. The whole psyop of it all is that there's people that say they're Jews, but they are not. And they are the synagogue of Satan. Okay? And they use words as a weapon, like Jew, like anti-Semitism, right? Like they use the Bible. They use the Bible the most against Christians. There's so much Talmudic Kabbalah infiltration, far past Zionist infiltration in churches now, right? There's the heavy Zionist wing that stays pretty traditional in a lot of respects, and then there's the Kabbalah Talmudic side to a lot of the liberal churches. It infiltrates on all sides. Okay, so their whole mission is to bring this about. In the meantime, making Christianity again look stupid to the world, right? And look like, again, like how Adam sees it, as an enabler to what everybody is kind of waking up to. And again, the whole thing is like, oh, so you hate the Jews? Well, no, I don't hate Jews at all. Again, this whole thing about Jews, like, is there not Jews that fought and served in the army, right? Who fought in World War One, World War Two, and all the wars, right? Like, not Jews that play sports, right? It's not Jews that aren't like, little money grubbers. Yes, of course there are, right? So you can't say that all Jews are one way, right? They all tend to lean one way or another, but a Christian ends up leaning that way too. Why? Because they're probably some of the most conflicted people on this planet, right? Because they are supposed to know the truth, right? And so that is a big thing on them. Like Noel Houari, right? He's a Jew and he knows the Old Testament. And he knows what it says about people that do things like him, right? And he hates it, and he hates God for it. It's like, when you go, like when I started working at this job I'm currently at, I knew absolutely nothing. I was terrible, like absolutely, I just was clueless, right? And when I started going on my own, I was still clueless in a lot of places because every time you'd end up coming into something new, right? And I'd always have to, basically explain to the farmer, whoever was working, like, hey, I don't know anything. I'm gonna try to fix your thing though, not break it, not make it worse than what it already is. And they would accept that, given the whole, non-verbal, non-handshake contract that I'm going to improve as I do more work, right? And as I'm going to get this thing fixed, whether I have to call somebody or I have to call somebody to come help me, or I have to call tech support, whatever ends up having to happen, it's going to get fixed. And I'm going to get better as time goes on. And I did get better as time went on, right? As time is going on, I'm learning stuff all the time in this job. So when you have something that is a fault, right, like not knowing your job very well, you should do better, right? Want to do better, right? Well, the Christian life is also the same thing, right? You know you're not very good, so you want to do better. You know that the only thing is with Christianity is that even though you're doing better, that's not what saves you, right? The blood of Christ is what saves you. And so that there is what drives you to want to do better. You want to be more Christ-like, right? Want to be more biblically sound, right? It's not that complicated, right? And it's not crazy either. Just because I say God, say the Bible, say certain words, it's not crazy talk, right?
Scapegoat Romans that they created Christianity as a deception.
Constantine seeing the cross emblazoned on the sun, right? And heard an audible voice saying, to go and conquer, right? At the bridge of Moldova. Is that what it was? Moldova? And Constantine would have been a Mithra worshiper. And most of the elites in Rome were of the Mithraic order, right? And it was a secret order. And even when they changed over to Christianity, they were still practicing Mithraism underground in the secret, occultic, right? That's so there was a infiltration. There was a fake setup, right? In one sense, because as soon as Christianity went mainstream, it ceased to look like what the New Testament showed. Okay. Once it began becoming the Holy Roman Catholic Church, right? The Holy Roman Empire, first, then it started becoming something different, right? It began to be a vehicle for the law of progression. So Adam is correct. Okay. He's correct, but there was always resistance to that. And Christians have always been persecuted throughout the years. Why? Because there's a real Christianity and there's a fake Christianity. And we don't seem to understand that, right? Because again, talking about the Inquisitions, right? A lot of Christians who were killed in the Inquisition. And who ran the Inquisition? The Dominicans, right? The Order of the Dominicans. The Jesuits, Loyola, right? All these guys were crypto. And they were killing people that were professing Jesus Christ instead of professing the Pope. So all that stuff happened. Women, men, children, tortured. A lot of them. All in the name of the Pope, not of Jesus Christ. So you can't say that it was all a Psy-Op. It's used as a vehicle, just like everything else, just like Islam is used as a vehicle by the same people. Right? Because the Shriners, right? The Shriners, that all goes to the Middle East, right?
When it was the other way around, it was a theological warfare against the Romans and the whole Gentile world. And you can see here, this guy mentions, we're going to play the clip, Kabbalah Guru mentions following Charlie Ward, so that connects him to the Melkade Charlie Ward.
So then why are we listening to him? I guarantee you if I talked to him about the Bible, we would see things differently. Why? because he sees it from his perspective, which is one that does not appreciate the New Testament. Because the New Testament does not appreciate Jewry and does not speak kindly of it. Doesn't speak kindly of Jews. Israel, God's people, talks about that a lot. Who are God's people? Right? Who are God's people? We are spiritually adopted into the family of God. A wild olive branch grafted into the olive tree that originally the branches withered and fell off. It's not our part to brag against the former, though. Right? Why would you brag against the former? Why would you? I don't like what people who say they are Jews are doing in the name of it all. That I'm against the same thing that you're against, Adam, but you're either deceived or deceiver. Who are the real Jews? That's a question for another episode, Wilford. Because God knows who are the true Jews. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there aren't Jews over in Israel, but the ones that rule are not. They're not the Jews. Or they're well, that's the thing. Again, you see, there's two things of Jews that seem to be out in the world. There's atheistic Jews, liberal Jews, right? Or there's super religious Jews. And the liberal atheistic Jews, they end up still kind of giving way to the religious side, but I don't think they like them. There's a lot of them that don't like them. And I don't not like liberal Jews or religious Jews, but I don't like people, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of the darkness of this world that are pushing all this. Because what are they doing? They're causing a push for division, right? And that's all that Adam's doing, is causing a major division. Where again, ultimately, at the end, when the Antichrist reveals himself, right, it's going to be the followers of Christ who say, that's not Christ, right? That's not Jesus, right? Those are going to be the people that don't take the mark. Those are going to be the people that are targeted for destruction, right? And what is the Antichrist? What's the whole purpose, right? Well, we're not just going to worship some guy. Well, no, because he's going to be the solution, right? He's going to bring in all the things that people want. He's going to be the hero that's going to walk on the stage or, come down, whatever tactic that they use, however this plays out. I think they're all Khazarians. I watched a rabbi do a lecture talking about the Khazarian theory and how that it was real, but then also used it as a way to basically anybody that anybody that said anything about the Khazarian theory, then they were Nazis. It was really weird. He was admitting it, but then if you talked about it and you weren't Jewish or not okay with it, then you were Nazi. It was quite something. And he had no problem talking about it. It was very informational. I wish if I could find it, I'll put a link in somewhere at some point after. True worshipers worship God in spirit and truth. That's right, Gary. I think they are all Khazarians. Yes. Yes. John 4:23. I am praying for my brother. He's Brendan Lucero. Lucero. Praying for my brother. He's been recently fascinated with and currently studying the Kabbalah. Yes, sir. Brendan. I don't know if I've seen you around before, but welcome here tonight. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I see a lot of people are getting into the Kabbalah, and you see that in the so-called truth movement, right? Or just all not necessarily truth movement because that's a wide range, but I find you just see that out there as the emerging mainstream culture has a lot of Kabbalah in it. Of the different kind, right? There's the current kind of, you know, influence that's out there again is this satanic influence, and that's the whole point. It's the dark side, darkness that's being revealed to the light. The light is coming in and revealing the darkness, and it's chasing the darkness out of here. So the brothers of light are going to bring in the great awakening. It's the yin and the yang, and I've been saying that for a long time. That is the as above, so below. That's what it is. That's the Star of Remfam, right? That's a as above, so below symbol, right? The occult uses as above, so below all throughout it, right? And as above, so below is true. It's a true statement from the Bible. Okay? But these people have been assigned, they've been assigned a task, and you know when you're assigned a task that you have to follow through that task, right? If you're given a task, you see it through, right? If you accept that task, you're going to see it through, right? You don't not see it through. You see it through to the end, and that's what these people are going to do. And they've gone too far to not see it through to the end. They've gone too far to back off, so to speak, right? Because they've been far past the point of their conscience being seared, right? But no, yes, pray for your brother, man. Hopefully that he sees the truth, understand it. But it's subtle, and it's all about, you know, knowledge and advancing knowledge, and that's a lot what the end times is going to be like. Knowledge will advance, and men will be running to and fro, right? They'll be heaping teachers to themselves, right? Studying, forever learning, but never coming to the truth, the true gospel of Jesus Christ. So, back to this. I gotta get
Simon
going.
Parks, David Rodriguez, all of these
The
people that
firmament
have been
above.
dominating,
Yes, Scary. Yes, I was.
shoots, top trending. This guy,
Okay,
Nicholas Veniam, they're all having
so the firmament as above, so below. I want to do a stream on. I'm just thinking about this. Okay, we don't know. We really don't know. We don't have any images that we can actually verify and confirm as being real, right? What if it is? What if it is a sphere, but it's the whole thing, and everything is inside of that? Well, I don't know. And maybe the firmament is above and the firmament is below. The firmament surrounds it. I don't know. Maybe the sun and the moon and the stars and everything, the luminaries are all within the globe. But maybe it's flat inside the globe. Hmm. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm interested to find out, but There's lots of strange things, that's for sure. Been subscribed for a while, but I've been meaning to watch your videos. The Enigma Report is the one who suggested your channel. Oh, right on, Enigma Report. I was just talking to Rich today, actually. Hadn't been talking to him for a while. So. No, right on, man. Good to have you here.
On this guy Jason Shurka, who is another New Ager.
Yeah. So you're just pointing to all these QAnon people that we already know.
I go to his page expecting and hoping to find clips of him saying these exact things, revealing that they actually know the truth, that Jesus is talking about Charlie Ward and QAnon.
This transitional moment is what we're going through now.
To the New Age.
I've been saying this. I've been saying that we're in an initiation going into the New Age, into this transition. The Christ consciousness, they're pushing this. The oneness doctrine, that's what it is, oneness. Oneness doctrine is the same as the Christ consciousness. We are one. We are one under God. One nation, so to speak. In the Denver airport, the children, they're all running together with their swords. They're all going with their flags, their swords, to the center of the picture where a German boy with a hammer, ching, is flattening out the swords. He's making them into plowshares, and he's killed the fascist, communist, dictator, gas mask wearing, saber carrying, AK-47 with the bayonet wielding green man, right? Only children know adults. That's right. That's what it does. Points to a lot of children, and some women. A lot of men don't seem to be there, do they? So this is the transition. This is happening. The thing is, it's not, the Bible is telling you that it's going to happen, and it's telling you how it's going to take place. So it's not that the Bible's not warning of this deception, because that's what it's doing.
The messianic age, where Esau and Amalek and Christianity as we know it are all destroyed.
They are not destroyed. What they are is symbolically destroyed. That's what iPad Go 2 is all about, and bringing out the Christ consciousness being birthed, right? The Dome of the Rock gets blown up, church steeple falls, the whore, right? And then the emblazoned heart, right, of Christ, and he's born out of the womb and comes into the world. And all those that were, dragged down by everything, all of a sudden they're fixated.
Old system, the old banking system, the cabal.
Oh, remember in the video too, Christ comes up out of, symbolically, the banker system and flattens it.
The deep state, the Illuminati, the Moilech, you could call him.
Molech. Baal.
Amalek. I mean,
Amalek also. Oh, and they say Jesus is stuck in the Kelly pot as well. They link it all to the Kelly pot. It's everything that I've learned from Bjorkness. It's everything that I've been doing in my own research. Satanic Secrets of Jesus. He nails it and breaks down, and his past book.
My book, Chris Bjorken's book, Satanic whatever of Jesus. Come on.
All of the...
See, they would say that... they would say that the Bible calls Satan the God of this world. So therefore it's saying that Satan is God of this world and Jesus is the son of Satan. It's like, okay. Good news beer sliding in. Transformation Christianity into the house of prayer.
With with the Noahide laws, and everybody meeting in the middle with Jesus. He's not a god and he's not Satan, showing that the Jews consider
My
him
father's
Satan
house is a house of prayer, and
It
you have
seems
turned
all
it into a den of vipers.
there. Every day, more proof just keeps coming out.
I know people are like, man, he's only gotten through 10 seconds. I told you. I told you. I told you. I told you not to do it. Matthew 13, 24 through 30. Another parable put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles of faggots to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Okay? Let me find that here again. Go the whole chapter here. So the wheat is to be burned in bundles. The wheat is to be burned in bundles. The tares are to be burned in bundles. The tares are the weeds that are grown up amongst. And if you planted anything, you got a carrot, say, and you got a weed growing up. If you don't get that weed when it's small, or even when it's really small, if it's got some good roots and it's really close to that carrot, you can pull that weed up with it. And the same happens even when they get bigger. If you are pulling weeds out, you can pull up your good plant with the weed. So sometimes, even though you don't want to leave that weed there, you have to leave you don't want to leave it there to take the nutrients, but you don't want to risk pulling out that plant either, right? So that's what he's saying. And he's saying that the tares are going to be gathered together, bundled up, and thrown in the fire. But the wheat, he's going to gather into his barn. He's going to gather it onto himself. Okay, that's the separation of the lambs and the goats. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. Another parable he spake unto them, the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in the 3 measures of a meal. So the tree, right, the mustard seed, it's a very tiny seed, but it grows up into a big, bushy tree. And it says that the birds, right, the animals, they gather to rest on the branches thereof. They come to lodge in the branches thereof. And then here, the woman with the leaven, okay? The woman took and hid it in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them. Okay? So 3 measures of meal, and she put the leaven in the 3 measures of meal. And the leaven turned all the meal into, a loaf, right? All these things Jesus spake unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which hath been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Not that he's a secret society, but these things were not understood. And they couldn't be understood then even. And they will not be fully understood until the apocalypse, which is the revealing, right? When all things will be revealed. Okay? People say that when darkness is brought to light. Well, that's the New Age version of it. And that comes first. Well, every morning when you wake up, there's a star. It's called Lucifer. And it's in the sky. And it's the last star that you can see, but it's there. And you can see it until the sun comes up. It's the only star there, so you think, everything's light. Can't see the sun yet, but there's that star. Must be that star. It's a false light, because when the sun comes up, that star disappears. Think about that. Okay. Kept secret the foundation of the world. Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. And he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. Okay? Jesus. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. Okay? So there's literally two lines. Okay? Just like there's always been. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. There's two harvests. One is what they call the rapture. When the four angels, they go out to the four corners of the earth and gather for the harvest, the reaping of the harvest unto the Lord. And then the second is the reaping of the harvest of the grapes into the wine press of God's wrath. And that's the one you don't want to be part of. That's where the tares are going. That's a sign for them. That's why God says, leave them. That's why Jesus said to Judas, he knew what he was going to do. And he told them at the table what was going to happen, but nobody understood. And he said to Judas, go and do what you're going to do. Wasn't going to stop them. Wasn't going to stop the events. It wasn't his place to do so. He was fulfilling the will of his Father. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let them hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hidden afield, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy therefore goeth and selleth all he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven, right? If you found treasure in a field, you would go and you would hide it, and then you would go and you'd buy that field, right? Because you would be inheriting a much greater treasure, right? You would invest in that field, right? And see, God, and that's the thing, the Bible uses real world, like things that people like, okay, I can understand that, right? Well, the Bible's using real world logic, and people just don't seem to understand that, how much truth, knowledge, and wisdom there is in all this. So, again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who, when he hath found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom, because it's more precious, right? Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, right? Because a net is not discriminate. It's going to gather. It doesn't matter what kind of fish you are, it's going to grab you. It doesn't matter what color you are, it's going to grab you. It doesn't matter even what your persuasion is. It's going to grab you. If it pulls you up on that net, well, it's going to change you too. Okay? And the whole thing, when I was talking about work earlier, I didn't even finish that. I was talking about improving. Well, it ties into this whole thing of where people accept their faults and want them to be praised and exalted for their faults. And instead of getting better, they get worse. And this whole degeneracy, as far as the sexual realm goes, this whole transgender thing where they want to be unique and whatnot, it's not, you're not being unique by doing it, right? You are going against the very nature that God had for you. And by doing so, you're alienating God from your life. And instead of reflecting on these things and repenting of it, you are doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on it and going even further, right? Oh, you guys said it was just about love. Well, now it's about banging kids, quite literally, right? Which it always was about. But, you know, again, that's another topic for another day.
Now, to validate this controlled opposition theory.
This is a force of evil that's been distorting everything in our reality. So
yeah, that's the cabal, not the Kabbalist, which cabal obviously comes from. The cabal is the Gentiles, the evil other side is who this guy tries to spin it as.
So, if you're confused right now, I think I would consider that a very normal thing. On Shabbos, I saw a lot of people are waking up, but they're like in this in-between stage. They haven't really realized completely that everything they're seeing on regular information sources is a lie. It's not even like a
yeah, see, we know this.
They're printing money, and that makes
we're gonna do that. We're gonna play the clips of in a minute, and kind of he's holding back a lot. Like a secret so big nobody will be able to believe it, as it said.
Now,
come on.
We're broaching a subject, but I don't think I want to go deeply into this. I think I just want to basically mention it because it is a very hot topic, and I don't really want to get into a big thing about it.
Hey guys, this guy's gonna reveal that Jesus was a Psy-Op. You heard him, right? You heard the way this guy sounds, right? You think that this guy's gonna offer you something that's gonna say, "Oh, he's telling me the truth. I now understand," right? If Jesus is a Psy-Op, then what else is there? That's what you got to think about. Why is it that the name above all names that they want to separate you from? Right? There's nothing else in this world more than they want to separate you than from the love of God. So they try to destroy each and every one of us, which is what Satan does. And Satan uses these people that he transforms into angels of light, so to speak, right? He uses both the dark and the light to deceive. But he's already lost. But he's got to do his thing because that's what he does. He accuses, right? He kills, he rapes, he destroys, right? So all these people that want to deny Christ and deny God, you are following what they want you to do in one way or another. If you don't believe in Christ or you believe in some other God or you believe in whatever you believe in, they're winning. Mission accomplished. Right? The whole thing is prevent you from coming to the truth.
Yet. I mean, it's going to require a lot of investigation. You know what I'm talking. I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about.
Jesus. He's talking about Jesus.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
If you don't know consciously what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Because it's been hiding in plain sight, as it also says.
It's been hiding in plain. He hasn't said anything yet, dude.
Read you a little bit from the Kosher Pig, the Shapira book right here. The Kosher Pig, Return of the Kosher Pig, Rabbi Yitzhak Shapira, who trained in Israel with top Kabbalah rabbis, was Orthodox Jewish his whole life, what he has to say about Jesus. Look at what he says here. The Orthodox man,
Okay, here we go.
discussing with leading with Chabad, his Orthodox Jewish friend, the Messiah will appear first as a lie to his people. He wondered, is it if the greatest secrets in our Jewish history?
He will appear as a lie, but then he will appear as Messiah. That's not anything different than what we've already been shown, right? Some say it's the second coming of Jesus. We say it's the first coming, right? So it's the Jesus that they're going to accept, which is not the real Jesus, but the New Age Jesus, right? Who's part of the Hegelian dialectic, right? That's going to emerge from all of this.
Could also be related to the one who is conceived as the greatest fraud within Jewish history, Jesus.
So this Jew, I wondered, of the greatest secrets in our Jewish history could also be related to the one who is conceived as the greatest fraud within Jewish history.
The Hebrew word chen holds the same value of gematria as to blot out, which is, they say, Yeshu's name is to blot out. Jesus' name is may he be blotted out. That's like Haman's name, also Hitler's name. This is their antichrist figure, basically. Jesus is the antichrist Messiah to the Jews, the adversary, the satanic adversary that prosecutes, persecutes, accuses the Jews, like as Jesus did, tempts them to idol worship. These are all roles of Satan in Judaism.
But that's what they're doing without the idols, right? That's what they're doing. Jesus has the power to blot you out of the book of life. He has the power to write you into the book of life. He has the power to blot you out. So if he was accusing certain people and against a certain group of people, is he not blotting them out? So is that not a reference against them? A charge against them? Do you see, Adam? Do you understand? I'm not even getting mad at Adam. I just want him to understand this.
Esau's guardian. Esau is Edom, is Christianity, and Esau's oversoul or guardian angel is Samael or Satan.
Where does that come from? That's not in the Bible.
In Judaism, the minister in the heavenly
Might be in Kabbalah.
court of the Gentiles was Satan, and that's what Jesus became in the New Testament to the nation.
You can get a whole book that shows like all the different guardian angels, and basically there's different people from history that go by these certain names. There's these people that you don't even know about. Jesus is in there, Buddha's in there, like Hare Krishna, probably. Like there's all these weird different things, and it has all these angel names and different ones like that, and it tells you all this background story on it. It's all occult, right? None of it's in the Bible, but we're to take the occult knowledge as being the truth, even though we don't know what it's talking about and have no context to it. We're to listen to what the occult says.
To the Goyim as well. Jesus is
the occult is being used to basically hypnotize the world and to push Kabbalah and Talmudic teaching onto the Western world without being tied and closely associated with Jewry, right? And also not being tied with the Roman Catholic Church, right? Because that was a conflict too. Because in these countries, the U.S. and Canada, the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism was very big, and there was a lot of separation. Like a lot of cities, you can tell different cities and different places who was Catholic and who was Protestant. And there was always all these separation. Now we don't know any of these separation, but there was always a reason why all these people were separated at one time. Jews, Catholics, Protestants. There was reasons for this, and we just don't. We're so far removed from understanding all this that to us it's just, hey, we're all just one. Because that's what they're doing. They're destroying all of our culture, everybody's culture, no matter what it was, to mold us into a just the color of that wall in my shirt.
One who is able to die and atone for the sins and accuse. You have to be sinless to be the as well. Jesus is the sinless one who is able to die and atone for the sins and accuse. You have to be sinless to be the accuser, to be the Satan, and they both sit on the right-hand side of God as well.
Where's that at? Satan is the accuser, the great accuser, right? Jesus Christ, first of all, okay, Jesus Christ never made an accusation, never made a railing accusation against anybody. He spoke the truth. You're forgetting that. When he spoke to the Jewish priests, to the high priests, he didn't bring about railing accusations. They said he was a railer. They called him an insurrectionist. They said that he, had a devil, right? They're the ones that accused him. They laid the accusations on him. They crucified him by way of their accusations and their unwillingness to give any ground. Yeah, no, I'm like 99.9% sure of that too. But it's one of those things that you just don't always know, do you? And if there's a way to get through to him, if I could tell the truth and him to understand that, well, then he's got to make the decision what he's going to do with that. So that's always more powerful, isn't it?
Here it also says, the pig returns. The pig represents Jesus. It's not kosher. It's foreign, and then it comes back.
Right, because Jesus, he cleansed. He not only, right, split the veil in the temple, right, and made it so anybody could come on to God through him, but he also cleaned the animal. He cleaned the pig. That which was dirty, he made clean, right? So just like if you're a filthy, dirty animal, pig, he can clean you up too, right? But he's not going to clean you up if you're like, no, I'm a dirty, rotten pig and I love it. Well, okay. If you like committing sodomy and getting others to commit sodomy, well, then there's not much that he can do, right? He'd like to. He's standing at the door. But if you're too busy getting sodomized, then, hey, that's on you, kid.
This particular prince, Jesus, is the prosecutor, Satan, of Israel, and in the future, God will return him to Israel to be its defender. This dualistic nature, God versus Satan, the Jews versus Jesus and the Christians, this is all just...
So, I got to end it here. It's a good spot to end it. This Gog Magog that he's basically talking about. Gog Magog comes after Christ returns and reigns for 1,000 years. Okay? But there's this thing in Zionism, the Zionist influence, where they push that Gog and Magog, that war is happening very soon. And they've been building those players for many, many, many years. I've been onto this for many, many years. If you've been paying any attention, you at least know the players, right? But it's Russia, China, Iran, and whatever else Middle East faction, right? That's who they see, and a couple other nations too. I think Germany might be in there and stuff like that, but European Union, things like that. But anyways, regardless, the whole point is that they had this whole concept. It's in the Left Behind movie too, right? Again, people that see Left Behind and they think that that's what the book of Revelation says about how things are going to go down. It's got portions that are correct, but the point of that is to lay the deception for people. So what ends up happening is that there's this war that's over Israel where all these forces come against Israel. And there's a miraculous event where God defends Israel, Jerusalem, right, from this attack. And everybody sees it. And it's very well known. And I can't remember in the movie if there was like some guy that took claim for it or what exactly, but this defense of Israel, which what they preach, because they preach the Gog and Magog, and what happens is that Gog and Magog encompass the city, and then when they are, at the gate, basically, God rains down fire on them. Okay, and then in the movie, it was a bunch of jets flying over, and all of a sudden all the jets started going haywire and all crashed and blew up in the air and so on and so forth. But then that ends up propelling the Antichrist, that event there. Okay. So what he's talking about is the Gog Magog situation, where there's going to be a Antichrist that's going to come back, and he's going to, what they say, make a deal with Israel. But halfway through the deal, he's going to betray them. Okay? And turn his face against them. Right? And then they're supposedly going to realize. Okay? Now all that stuff is part of the whole Zionist working and interpretation of the end times. Now, there are those, again, you have to wonder, who are the real Jews, right? But people that are Jews, that are lost sheep, they are going to come to the truth in the end, right? But anybody who has paid their fealty by taking a mark in their right hand or forehead to the beast, they're not going to make it. So whether you're a Jew or a Gentile, if you got the mark of the beast, you're done, son. And there's a preaching that's going on too, to telling people that, hey, you can take the mark of the beast. It's okay. You gotta live, right? Well, that's kind of similar to what they said about the whole Jabberoni, right? Which I suppose you can probably talk about now because they're starting to backpedal on it, and the great angering is going to take place. But we got to stay calm and stay vigilant, discerning the times, the information that's going on, knowing that they're trying to push us to lose our marbles, right? And wig out on them and do something crazy. That's what they want to happen. And the more they push, eventually, they're hoping that they will get that Reichstag kind of moment, because they still haven't gotten that yet, right? And they'll pin it on whoever they need to, right? If they have to get some 35-year-old mentally handicapped guy that lives in a basement, they'll do it, right? They'll do it. Or if they have to implant a bunch of feds and coax somebody into doing something, they'll do it. They'll do whatever they need to do. Anyways, keep your heads, boys and girls.
It's a kosher construct. It's all in the Jewish matrix. It's the definition of controlled opposition.
Okay, let's see. Some within the Jewish faith reject the idea that the same Messiah will appear twice. However, right here in the Jewish writings of our sages, it is clear that the expectation of a returning prince, or at the very least a returning angel, exists. One who comes not as Israel's accuser, but rather as Israel's defender. Okay? A compelling parallel to this idea can be found directly in the prophet Zechariah. And then, okay, they're going to use the Bible when they want it, when it's convenient for them. So again, if you're looking at the Old Testament and you look at the New Testament and the prophetic writings and whatnot, if you look at the Old Testament, this is what happens. This is why they always go with the Old Testament. I gotta wrap this up because we can go and look at Gog and Magog another night on the next part of this. But what they do is they take the Old Testament and they say, hey, it says Israel, right? It says Israel clearly. It says Israel. It was to them, so on and so forth. And if you're looking at it in the context of the Old Testament, yes, it would appear that it's, the direct descendants of Abraham, right? But the promise to Abraham was that his seed would be innumerable, right? And it would bless all the families of the world, right? And that's why it says that we are the adoption of Christ. We who were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, right? Were made nigh by the blood of Christ. So again, it's a lot of people. That's why it says that the net, when it's cast out, it brings up all sorts, right? And just as there were Jews then that got saved, right? There are lost sheep. God knows who they are, and God will reach them as he needs to, right? And if we're Gentiles, or if we're, if you are of a certain descent, then you might be of the tribe of, or not the tribe, but the half tribes of, Firas, and, what's the other guy? Zebra? No. Anyways, the scarlet rope, the scarlet cord, right? There's that whole thing. There's that whole idea in the hidden history of Jeremiah going to Ireland and the British Isles, and how that when they went there that they were welcomed because the people there, the chieftain, they recognized each other as being brothers from the past, right? As far as how their, I don't want to say rituals, but their, just how they pattern their life and their beliefs and everything like that, right? And so it's said that the Anglo-Saxon origins are that of true Israelites. Now, does that matter? It doesn't matter, but you can understand that in one sense when Satan hates God's people and how the world wants white people dead, mainly Christians, because shoot, what are a lot of white people? I mean, there's a lot of people that are Caucasian that if you look at them, you're like, look kind of Jewish, right? And they probably were maybe at one time, but they gave up on the Jewry and their ancestors converted to Christianity, and they've been a Christian ever since, right? And it wouldn't be a far leap for them to convert to Christianity. It's that these stiff-necked Jews, religious Jews, have their necks so far stuck up that they can't look down and read the gospel and understand it, right? Their backs are so stiff. They can't see the writing on the wall. But there are people all over the world that recognize the truth when they hear the gospel and when they hear God's word. And how does that happen? Well, God knew it. God knows it. God knows who they are. He knows where the lost sheep are. And he's sent us out to find them. So the Antichrist will be a defender of Judaism, because what's he going to do? He's going to, help enact the Noahides. Where do they want that to come from? What do they want to do? They want to build that temple, don't they? And they use the Bible. They use the Old Testament, right, as a reason to justify why they should be able to. Okay? And they want to make it a temple unto the world, right? Eventually, because they're not planning on worshiping the true God of Israel. That's the kicker. That's the kicker. And that's why this is all so confusing. And that's the whole plan, is to make it confusing. That's the whole reason why it's a deception. Because it wants you to either be a part of it or to be against it to the point where you can't even see the truth, right? You can't see the forest for the trees. So I got to end this. I can't go on anymore. It's 1 o'clock. I got a busy day tomorrow. David FL, I have to hit the sack, Peter and friends. I will be back. Thank you, Peter. Always a pleasure to listen to you live and your YouTube videos you post. Night. Good night, David FL. Have a good night, bud. People have to remember Jesus was not an ordinary man. He was supernatural. Well, he lived in the flesh as a man. So he was emptied of all of his godliness when he was born into this world. And it wasn't like in the Gnostic Gospels where, Jesus did tricks and did magic tricks and things, and that he was shuffled off to Egypt to learn the occult and stuff like that. It wasn't that he had all that ability, right? He didn't have any of that ability until he was baptized by John the Baptist, and God said, "This is my son who I'm well pleased." And the Holy Spirit came down in the form of a dove and landed on his shoulder, right? And then his ministry began. Before that, he was just, he knew the gospel, he was teaching, but he wasn't empowered with the Holy Spirit to do the miracles until that point. And that's where we have to remember, because it's the Gnostic Gospels that want to talk about this magic trick Jesus, which is the same Jesus of the Super Jesus and Friends. But yes, but no, but I understand what you mean. I know. I understand what you mean, I think. Hopefully. True. Yeah. We get each other. And if we don't, we're clarifying it to each other. Right? And that's the whole point of having a conversation, isn't it? And if we don't agree on it, then we don't have to agree on it. That's another part of a conversation that can happen, right? That is an interesting train of thought. Well, boys and girls, if any gals showed up. Don't think so. No ladies tonight. It ain't ladies' night. But thanks a lot for coming out, guys, tonight. This was part 1 of, I got E as a, man, I can't even spell. Is Jesus Psy-Op? I'll have to change that. Part 1. Part 2 will be sooner than later. I'm going to try to get back to more regular things. But this burn the candle at both ends, that can be hard on a fella too. Joe, I'm getting 37, I'm 37 guys. 37. So, just burn the candle at both ends. This is a young man's game. Have a good night, everybody. Peace out. We'll see you next time. God bless. Jesus is King, Lord, and Savior.